So the book, American Jew, was originally my dissertation, or an earlier version of the book was my dissertation. And how did I come upon my dissertation topic? I think a lot of doctoral students have different trajectories that led them to their topic, but and mine was just good luck. My doctoral advisor at the time at Brandeis had written her first book. Her name is Wendy Cadge, and she had written her first book about the comparative ethnography of 2 Thai Buddhist centers in the United States. And one of her findings was that in the Thai Buddhist or in one of the Buddhist centers that served the Cambridge Insight Meditation Center that served largely a white audience, that there was a disproportionate number of Jewish practitioners there. I think she estimated at the time about a third of the people who she just kind of randomly selected to interview for her book project were of Jewish background. And this was a surprise to her. And she was kind of like, why? I went looking for Buddhists and I found a lot of Jews. Like, well, what was going on? So the summer after my first semester in graduate school, I started in the winter. She and I were talking, and she had some funding that was available to kind of do some exploratory research about basically about why there were so many Jews who seemed to be interested in Buddhism. And I knew nothing about it at the time, and but it just sounded interesting. And I said, wow, I'd love to do that summer research project for you. So I spent the summer of 2009 and poking around a bunch of different Buddhist centers and Jewish meditation centers in the Boston area. I just went and I sat and just sat in the centers and did various different meditation practices, and we kind of talk to people who were, before the class or after the class, and just a little bit just to hear about who they were and where they came from, what their paths have been. And at the end of that summer, I was pretty convinced that this was a really great project, and this was going to be a really interesting story. And I feel like even back then, I could see how this was going to be a good book. And so I came back to her after that summer, and I said, "This is what I found. This is why this is so interesting, and I want to pursue this further." So there was it's like this very interesting story. I originally imagined starting this book in the 50s, and Jonathan Sarna at Brandeis, a historian, had said to me, I think you should look to the past a little bit more. I bet there's something there. And I said, okay, I'll see. I'll go through some archives. I'll read some newspapers. I'll see what I can find, but I'm not sure. And sure enough, there's this older history of the encounter between Jews and Buddhists that really began in the late 1800s, and has this fabulously interesting story to tell. And it really began, there's different beginning points, but I began the story with Charles T. Strauss, who was this wealthy haberdasher in New York of German descent. And he is right now known to be the first American to, and I'm going to use this kind of in scare quotes, convert to Buddhism, to take on Buddhist precepts on the American soil. And he was became a very staunch Buddhist, and he lived in the States, and he moved back over to Germany. I kind of lost his story when he left America and moved to Germany, but from the little that I know of him, he was very involved in setting up Buddhist communities in Germany when he moved back, when he moved overseas. And then within the United States, he was, a very active member in promoting Buddhism within New York and within the United States more generally.